for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre, McGuire, and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche And after 22 years, Raymond Mark!
The sickest NHL podcast. Brought to you by TCS Customs and Logistics. Moving pieces, delivering peace of mind. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to another edition of the Eye Test here in the Sick Podcast Network. He is Pierre McGuire. I am Jimmy Murphy. We've got a great guest coming up shortly. Rick Dhaliwal, longtime Vancouver radio host and great Vancouver Canucks analyst, will come on the show to break down the Vancouver Canucks and specifically what is going on with Elias Pettersson and the mess that has become in Vancouver. But let's go to Pittsburgh, where Pierre is right now. Pierre, how is the camp going? I heard your team had a good day.
So far, we've had a good day. We're in the championship game, which is always good whenever you're at a Mario Lemieux event, which is cool. So we'll see how we do tonight at 6 o'clock. But I'm really excited to be with you right now, Jimmy. And great job yesterday, by the way, with the head of the NHLPA, with Marty Walsh. That was a fantastic job by you and Marty. And, you know, the biggest thing to me, you look at the NHL now, can they build off of the momentum from the Four Nation event? And that's going to be very interesting to see how they do coming out of that.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And, you know, as we look at it right now, I haven't seen anything with regards to TV ratings so far after that break. Maybe it will come out sooner or later this week. We're only a Tuesday, but usually they come out by now. But there's still a buzz. I mean, you see Matthew Tkachuk last night was on the Tonight Show. You don't usually see an NHL player on there, Pierre, unless it's, you know, they've won a Stanley Cup or something. So that's a good sign that mainstream media is still looking at them. But let's see what happens weeks down the road if that buzz wears off. But look, I don't think it's wearing off when it comes to hardcore hockey fans. We are in a stretch run here. We're less than 2 weeks away from the NHL trade deadline, Pierre. I know you're in Pittsburgh there. One of the buzz names today that I've heard on listening to various radio shows and podcasts and looking on social media is Pittsburgh Penguins defenseman Erik Karlsson. We discussed this a long time ago, Pierre, and a lot of people laughed at us when we said that they could move him. And now it appears there is some traction there that could happen. I don't know how you pull it off. I mean, obviously they're going to have to retain something, I would think, but it's an interesting name that is all of a sudden supposedly out there on the trade market.
So if you're ownership of the Pittsburgh Penguins, you need to ask two questions. Why did we get Erik Karlsson? And who endorsed getting Erik Karlsson?
Mm-hmm.
Those are two hard questions you got to ask.
Yep.
And if you don't get the right answer, you got to wonder about where you're going with your plan.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, people aren't thinking about it that way, but I'm here. I watched the game on Saturday and I watched the game on Sunday. And I don't know, you know, they got wiped out by Washington and they held the Rangers to 15 shots, but they still lost the game. So I don't know what they're trying to sell long term, but this team needs an overhaul. And I didn't trade Marcus Pettersson. You didn't trade Marcus Pettersson. I didn't trade Drew O'Connor. You didn't trade Drew O'Connor. You know, I didn't go out and get Erik Karlsson. I didn't go out and get Lars Eller and then turn around and trade him to my biggest rival, the Washington Capitals. You know,
Jake Gensel, don't forget.
I was going to go there to the last part. I didn't trade Jake Gensel. You traded Jake Gensel because you got Erik Karlsson. And I'm not trying to poke fingers at whether it's the general manager, the coach, the owner, the assistant GM. That's why I'm telling you, the exercise needs to be sitting down in a room and an owner has to ask hard questions because that's too many mistakes for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
There's too many mistakes. So you need to ask the questions.
Pierre, you've been in these situations. You've been in the war rooms when it comes to hockey operations and you've talked to owners. Can you do that around a trade deadline, or is that something that is better off done off-season wise?
No, after the deadline's over,
okay,
I'm going to let these guys do their work because that's what they need to do.
Right.
But after that's over, you still need to sit down and say, okay. And I'm sure they've talked about, here's our long-term strategy. Mm-hmm. This is what we'd like to accomplish. But what I'm concerned about, because I know how valuable this franchise is, not just dollar and cents wise, or to the community, but to the entire National Hockey League. Mm-hmm. This is a really important franchise.
Yeah.
And it has been for a very long time. And so you don't want any franchise to struggle, but this one in particular, because you don't have an NBA team competing against it. And people don't talk about that enough.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I'm not trying to scare anybody, but the first time, so I've been coming to Pittsburgh since 1984.
Wow.
Okay. The first time I ever heard anybody talk about the potential of an NBA franchise was this trip.
Mm-hmm.
So that's almost 40 years.
Interesting. Switching out west, Pierre, but a Penguin connection there. Former Penguins assistant GM, former Pittsburgh Penguins player who won a Stanley Cup with them as well in 2009. Billy Guerin, the GM of the Minnesota Wild. He's got to be wondering right now. And I know, look, nobody's going to feel bad for him, right? This is just me talking. And he understands it's part of it. But, man, they've had some injury, bad luck this year. And now we find out that Joel Eriksson-Ek, a practice injury, is now out week to week. This is a guy that I don't think around the league, maybe the mainstream media or the mainstream fan understands how important he is to that lineup and what he does in terms of having everyone fall into place as you go down the lineup there in the depth chart. What do they do now, Pierre? Are they all of a sudden, you know, legit buyers for a center, or do you caution yourself? You don't want to like react too quickly to that and do something you regret down the line. How do you approach something like that when it happens that close to the deadline?
Great question. Fair question. First of all, they got to get Kaprizov back. Supposedly his injury is a little bit worse than what they thought. So that's a big loss as well. You got to get Kaprizov back. In terms of Joel Eriksson, I don't know, Jimmy, how long he's going to be out for. You might know that better than I, and I apologize for not knowing.
I just saw week to week here. That's
right. I don't know. So week to week says to me, they're probably not going to know where he stands by the time the deadline comes. If I'm them, I still think they have a chance to do some damage. They're so well coached. They've got goaltending. They've got some young depth coming through. They're going to have serious salary cap availability next year because of the expiring contracts to Parise and Suter, which is obviously important for them. I would not be sitting on my hands if I were Billy, and I don't think he will.
No.
Knowing the people that are around him and knowing what they think of their potential, I could see them doing a little something. I could see them doing a little something.
There's no other Joel Eriksson out there. He's his own player, but in terms of style and what he brings to the team, is there anyone that comes?
Yeah, Nick Dowd. Nick Dowd's really good at that, but they're not trading him. That ship was, if you wanted to jump on that ship, you had to jump on it last year when the eye test kept telling everybody, you better go get Nick Dowd. You better go get Nick Dowd. We're watching this guy playing a team that just barely made the playoffs, and we're telling everybody, Jimmy and I are, this guy's really good. You better get him, because if they do what I think they're going to do, you're not getting that guy out of there anytime soon. Yeah, and he's been great. There are a lot. I like those underdogs type players. Here's a kid from Huntsville, Alabama. Huntsville, Alabama, playing in the national, and he's a good player.
Yeah, he's a smart player, very useful player, the type of player you need in the playoffs. Hey, look at that team. I'm glad you brought up Nick Dowd and the Washington Capitals, Pierre. And I'm just, I hope you don't mind, I'm just bouncing around here.
No.
Because we're getting that time of year where you're kind of trying to figure out who's going to go for it, who's going to make sort of the mid-range moves, and who stands pat. The Capitals are an interesting team. I don't know about you. I didn't see them being this good this year. I thought they'd be better. I didn't see them, running away with the Metro Division or running away with the Eastern Conference. They are where they are now. Do you look at it as like you've got some fool's gold here, or you've got some house money? How are you approaching the trade deadline if you're the Washington Capitals?
I'm going to win.
Too. Thank you.
And I'll tell you why, Jimmy. I know I got Ryan Leonard in the satchel. He's coming. He's going to be a top 6 forward. I know I got Cole Hudson in the satchel. He's coming. He's going to be a top 4 D-man. I got 2 free players coming.
Mm-hmm.
You do.
And they've got other prospects too who aren't ready yet.
They got a whack of prospects. Yeah. They got a whack of prospects. And they got the top team in the American Hockey League with the Hershey Bears. They're swimming in riches, okay? But go look at the numbers. And I'm not a big, Jimmy, I don't like looking at all these numbers. But I know what Scotty Allen's done with their penalty kill. They're top 5 in the league. I know what's going on with their power play without Nick Backstrom being there, without Kuznetsov being there. They're still ripping it up on the power play. I know what Kirk Muller's doing there. I know what Spencer Carberry's doing. I just watched these guys throttle Pittsburgh. They didn't just beat them. They throttled them. Yeah. And I honestly think they probably pulled the guys back a little bit in the third period. They're good. They're really well coached. They're deep. And players have accepted their assignments, and they do it with a lot of glee. They do it with a lot of passion.
Yeah, if I'm them, I'm going for it. Well, listen, a team that I don't necessarily know if they're going for it, but I do think they'll be active at the NHL trade deadline. The aforementioned Vancouver Canucks, and on to discuss that team right now with us is our good friend Rick Dhaliwal here on the eye test. Hey, my friend, how you doing?
Always a pleasure to join you two. Always.
Yes.
You could call me anytime. Both of you guys. Love you guys.
You are so good at your job. We love having you on, Rick. We're so grateful that you come on. We really appreciate it.
And I want to tell you, the Washington Capitals head coach is a ferry ride away from Vancouver Island. He's a Victoria native, right? He was in the East Coast Hockey League.
He was.
Going nowhere as a player. And somebody said, hey, you should stick around as a coach. And now look at him now. Put in his time with the farm team, Maple Leafs assistant, and we had him on the show, and I can't tell you how much, just happy to see his success. And you know what? You don't always have to go get the $4, $5, $6 million coach.
No,
you just got to get the guy that's the right fit. And boy, is he the right fit for the Capitals, and good on them. And, he's a Vancouver Island boy. We're really, really cheering him on down here as well.
Good.
So, Rick, everyone right now, when they think Vancouver Canucks, the first name that comes to mind is Elias Pettersson right now and what's going on with him. His comments the other day did not do him any favors in terms of the public eye. What is he like? What's he doing right now? What is the situation with him right now? It feels like stepping in it. You know what I mean?
It's guys, let me start at the beginning. There's so much noise around this player. It's been 12 calendar months. First, the JT Miller-Pettersson feud. Miller gets traded, right? Pettersson trade rumors. Guys, he was close to being traded to Carolina for Netchus, before they turned around and picked up the phone and did the deal with Carolina for Rantanen. And now this, Ian McIntyre, well-respected reporter in Vancouver, just all he said was, hey, Elias, where's your confidence level at when it comes to scoring goals or lack of? And he came back with, it's more annoying dealing with the media. Not the answer you want to hear from a player wearing a letter. Not the answer you want to hear from a player who really needs to take accountability for his struggling play. Did you guys ever hear the Sedin twins blame the media?
No.
Early on, and Pierre, you would know this. They struggled. They weren't 100-point players right off the bat. But there are not any two players you can find drafted in Vancouver that were more on and off the ice pros. Never heard a bad word about them. Showed up to training camp in great shape, right even to the end. Even to the end for the Twins, they showed up to training camp in great shape. And two of the best players in model citizens, model draft picks, they never did this. And they took a lot of heat early. We had a reporter here, Neil McRae, who called them the Sedin sisters, and Brian Burke didn't like it.
I remember.
I remember Mark Crawford. I think it was Daniel. I would have he healthy scratched Daniel, I think, in Dallas early in his career. So they saw a lot of adversity in Vancouver too, and Pettersson is as well. But you can't blame the media. You got to look in the mirror. And Canucks got to right now do everything in their power to get this guy back to playing the way he was. And let me give you a quick history of the media in this city. You know how radio, TV, and newspapers are going. There's not even half the media that used to be here.
No.
And there's a guy named Tony Gallagher, Pierre, that, can you imagine Tony?
Oh, no.
The Undertaker? The Undertaker, we used to call him the Undertaker. Neil McRae, Jason Botsford, like the media and on the road, the Canucks have maybe 3-4 guys, and half of them are Canuck reporters. Like, it is really simple for players these days because half the media is gone because radio stations are folding, TV, newspapers are folding. So to blame the media is, I think it caught a lot of people off guard. And I just think it caught a lot of people off, and it just threw more gas on the fire. Every time there's no gas on the fire for 2 or 3 weeks, something happens to put more gas on the fire. That's just been Vancouver's season in a nutshell.
Where are they on Brock Boeser right now?
Oh boy. So Brock we're going to go down to the wire, Pierre, on Brock. You either trade him, you either keep him as an own rental, or you trade him. And, you know, I was told a couple of days ago not to rule out the re-signing. I think the term is the big issue out here, guys. Jimmy, Pierre, it is no question the term is the issue, and it's not so much money as in term. I don't think the Canucks want to do 7 or 8, and I think they'd probably like to do something in the 5 to 6 range. They're worried about his foot speed. He's not the fastest guy. No. But here's something I'll say about Brock. He's not the fastest guy, but he's got a couple things in his tool belt. He's got great hockey sense. He thinks the game at an elite level. He's always in the right spot.
I agree.
And he's just a natural goal scorer. Like, all he's ever done. Like, guys, he's 9th in Canucks history for goals. You know, 5th Canucks history for game-winning goals. 7th in Canuck history for power play goals. Hey, that's not bad for a guy that can't skate, right? You know,
you look at some of the players on the list ahead of him, it's pretty scary.
Yeah. So, yeah, okay, I get it. He's not the fastest guy, but he's turning 28 today. So he turns 28 today. He's going to do fine on July 1st. So what Brock and his agent have to weigh, what do I get on July 1st? Well, what do we know about July 1st? We know a couple things about July 1st. Salary cap's going up. There's going to be more money to play with. And here's the other thing about Pierre, and Brian Burke said it, you know, some GMs act like drunken sailors on July 1st. There's always a team handing out a stupid contract with stupid term and stupid money, right? We know on July 1st, goal-scoring wingers do well. I think this might go down to the wire, guys, but the Canucks are keeping all their options open. You can sign them, trade them, or you can keep them as your own rental. But here's the other thing I want. You know, somebody told me the other day that, you know, Brock's not, you know, maybe he feels a little slighted. And I said, okay, Marcus Pettersson comes here and he signed in 5 days. Drew O'Connor comes here, he signed in 2 weeks. Kevin Lankinen comes here, he signed in 5 months. Okay, this guy's been here 9 years, and you're going to take him down to the wire? And you're signing all these guys in very limited window of showing for the Vancouver Canucks. So what does that tell you? Maybe if he is slighted, he'd pretty well have a damn good reason to be, because a lot of money's been handed out this year and a lot of deals for guys who haven't been here a very long time. I just think that Brock's going to go down to the wire. But Pierre, you've been in the heat of the battle of contracts. One phone call changes everything. It could change. Everything changes with one phone call. You know that. And
I've done it a million times, so I totally agree. It's a smart comment that you're making. Very smart. 100%.
Yeah. We can sit here and talk about what's going to happen to Brock. You know, the team could. Hey, let me give you an example. So I'm going to give you how things change quick. So January 1st was when the Canucks could have signed Lankinen, right? They went hard in that first week in going after him. They made an offer of $3.9 million over 5, just under $20 million. Then the agent said, I want to know the salary cap number. And then things went quiet. Last Thursday, Canucks called the agent at 10 in the morning, and they struck a deal in 12 hours. So that's how things change. And so Lankinen goes from quiet to all of a sudden, we call you at 10 in the morning, get it done 10 at night, and we announce it Friday morning. And one thing that Rutherford and Alvin have shown in this market, go back to the JT Miller signing. That came out of the blue, right?
Yep.
And I remember it. I was sleeping. I was having a nap. I get up and I got 50 text messages. I go, what the hell's going on? What a dumb time to take a nap. And
That always happens to me.
And these guys, and everybody thought Horvat, and Miller, and there were people in the Canucks organization that wanted to sign Horvat, and they signed Miller. And so now they do Lankinen. I would not discount this organization like Rutherford and Alvin and just saying, hey, we want to get Brock signed, we'll get him signed. Here's another thing in Brock's favor right now, guys. Canucks are the 25th highest scoring team in the National Hockey League. That's not good.
No.
And, you know, they've got O'Connor and Sherwood in their top six. Those guys aren't top six players.
No,
they're not top six players. The only top six wingers they've got are DeBrusk and Boeser. And Quinn Hughes, your all-world defenseman, he's been out for 6 games. And here's another one for you. They've got 2 centers that are on pace for over 90 points. You can't go far when your top 2 6 centers are going to get a combined 90 points in one season. Last year, Miller and Pettersson combined for 192 points, somewhere around there. And where did they go? They won their division. They went to round 2, almost made it to the Western Final. When your centers are not creating offense, you're in trouble. Your top 2 centers. And Hedl has never had more than 45 points in a season.
No.
And he's only had 45 once. The others were 20, 22, 23. And Pettersson's on pace for 54, and he makes 11.6. Their center ice position, check this out, guys. 2 years ago, they had Horvat, Miller, Pettersson up the middle. Horvat and Miller are gone.
Yeah.
And the other guy might be gone. And they got nothing on the farm. They don't got a draft pick. Their 2 best draft prospects, one's a winger and one's a defenseman, Lekaramaki and Willander. This center ice position right now in Vancouver, holy smokes. It has gone from, you know, Horvat, Miller, Pettersson down to Pettersson, and Pettersson struggling. So there's a lot of things that play right now in Vancouver. Lots.
You brought up Lankinen there, and obviously he signs. And if you look at it, if they still have Demko on the payroll next year, they're looking at $9.5 million between the pipes there, Rick. With his health, I don't know how difficult it's going to be if they ever thought about moving Demko, but something's got to give there, I would imagine, in the next year or two.
So Demko's on his 4th injury in less than a year, guys, right? A lot of concern. Like, let's be honest. But this time last year, he was a Vezina Trophy candidate. Can he get back to that? That's the $1 million question. Yeah. The other $1 million question is durability. Is he going to keep coming back from injuries and then getting hurt again in 2-3 weeks? So when he returned this year, he got the back spasms in Seattle. Then he got hurt in Toronto on February 8th. He has skated multiple times this week, and I do believe he'll be back in a week or two. But the Canucks have to ask some important questions. One is durability. His contract's up next year. They can talk to him July 1st. And they got to say, where's the durability? He can't get term out of Vancouver if he keeps getting hurt at this pace.
No.
He can't.
No.
So
Totally agree.
He can't get term, and but if he can show the rest of this year, come back, not get hurt. But here's something for you guys. Like Lankinen signs that contract Friday morning, goes into Las Vegas, and 31 saves.
Yeah.
Like, there is so much to like about Lankinen. He's a great teammate. Coach Tocchet loves him. Absolutely freaking loves him. And, you know, he's a model teammate. And they really like his culture, what he brings to a dressing room. And the fact that he put up 31 saves in Vegas the day after, you know, getting the bag. I think the kids call it getting the bag. I don't know. I'm getting so freaking old. Pierre, what do they call it back in the day when a guy signed a big contract?
They went in with a bag and a gun and a mask. He went in with a gun and a mask. Hey, Rick, I
But
one of my dear friends in hockey is Rick Tocchet, and I have not talked to Rick just because he's been so busy. I got to think that he's perplexed with everything that's gone on around his group this year. Is that fair to say?
But you're 100% correct.
Yeah.
This has been a trying year on Rick Tocchet, and it started with the Miller-Pettersson feud. He's been babysitting. Like, he should get extra money this year for babysitting. Like, the look on his face tells it. His body language in post-game press conferences has been a little bit shorter and terse this year.
Yep.
No coach wants to deal with this babysitting issue. Like, it's taken its toll on him. You know, they traded away a heart and soul guy. The day that Miller was traded, Rick Tocchet was asked, "What did you lose?" And he said, "I lost a heart and soul guy. Like, I lost a heart and soul guy." Rick Tocchet played the game. He's one of the best power forwards in the NHL's history.
Yeah.
It really was.
I loved when he played in Philadelphia. He was born to be a Flyer, but he played elsewhere too. But the way he plays the game,
that guy right there,
and the Penguins,
It was better there.
Rick Tocchet, I feel for him. He's had a tough year, guys.
And
the amount of noise. The Vancouver's always in the news for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
You know, the GM's blasting Pettersson in the paper. The president's doing an article in the paper, and in the end, and around end, it affects him. You know, because the media is coming up, and you know, in the media pressure, Canadian market. Like, one thing Tocchet's learned. I will tell you one thing. Before he came here, he did not know about a Canadian market and media. He does know now. And I think it caught Boudreau off guard too a little at times. Travis Green, go ask him. Go ask Willie Desjardins. I can keep going. Go ask Jim Benning.
Yeah.
It can become a grind. And now you got this thing called social media, which makes it 10 times worse. You know? Yeah. And so to answer your question, I agree. He's had a tough year. Like, and here's another one for you, Pierre. His contract, like, it's up. And, you know, some people are wondering, does he want to come back? You know, does he want to come back?
That's where he's going to go.
Here's what I know.
I
know. He owns a house in Las Vegas, Nevada. So.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, when he sees Pettersson say what he said about the media and all the way this kid has acted, it's a complete opposite of what his persona is.
Oh.
And, you know, I'm with you. Like, I would wonder too. I mean, do I really want to keep dealing with this?
Yeah.
You know, I get enough money. I mean, I know I'm a good coach. I know I can get a job somewhere else. Why stay?
I wish the Canucks had 21 guys that played the way Rick Tocchet played.
There you go.
They would go 82-0.
Maybe they got to build a team of Rick Tocchet's, and maybe that's the key. You know, who knows?
His future is going to be a big decision. And you know,
I agree.
Patrick Alvin said it a few weeks ago. It takes two to tango, which believes me. He said we like Rick Tocchet, but he said it takes two to tango, which tells me that maybe Rick's taking his time with his decision, right? Because he's coming off Coach of the Year. Like, how do you not want to sign the Coach of the Year in the National Hockey League to an extension?
Mm-hmm.
Good question.
He did something right last year. Boy, did he ever.
I cover all the time.
Yeah.
Reminds me of the Bruins. Anyhow, Rick, listen, we appreciate you taking the time, and you've done a great job covering
having you on.
This drama.
Love it.
You break it down well. I've been watching you guys a lot lately, and you always give the best inside track, and keep up the great work out there, eh?
You're awesome, Rick. Love it.
I absolutely love coming on with you guys, and to the best in the biz, not even close. And we got to get you on our show. We got to do it. It's piss and rain in Vancouver. Hold on, it rains here all the time. I got to take the dog for a walk, and then I got to have my nap. I'm getting freaking old, Pierre. I'm getting old.
Somebody's going to get traded while you take your nap. Be careful.
See you, Rick. Thank you.
All right, take care, guys.
Dhaliwal joining us here on the eye test. Check them out on the Donnie and Dally show, the team podcast. It's a great show. They really do a great job of breaking down the Canucks, and not only the Canucks, they really have a good inside track on what's going on in the NHL, Pierre, as you know. And I love his enthusiasm.
Well, first of all, he doesn't make stuff up.
No.
He lays it out there. Sometimes people don't like it because he tells the truth. It's too bad. I love having a guy on because he tells the truth. His response on the Taka question was spot on. The body line, look, I've known Rick a long time. He's a upfront, tough guy, and you can just see he's in pain some nights talking to the media. He's not going to back away from it, but he doesn't look comfortable, and I think part of it is because of what Rick said.
Yeah.
Rick's look, he's been being paid extra to be a babysitter. That's not how it works in the NHL. I'm coaching at a fantasy camp. Go ask any of my players if I'm running a babysitting service. I'm not, and these guys pay to come to this. Like they want to be coached like they're in the NHL, so that's how they're being coached.
Yeah.
Not running a babysitting. I told one guy the other day, I said, "Who told you to go up and down the ice 3 times in a row?" He looks at me, he goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "I told you to go up once and get off." And he was mortified.
But that's what they're paying for.
all the guys thought it was great. We get in the dressing room, they're like, "That's what it's like." I said, "Yeah, that's kind of what it's like."
Yeah. The problem is they're paying you to do that, not the other way around with the player, right? But I'm thinking the same thing. And I think I came to you earlier this season, Pierre, when we, and I was like, is that real that his contract's up and they haven't signed him an extension? And you're like, yep. And then you see what's gone on since then. I mean, I feel like this was back in December when we had this conversation off air, Pierre. And, you look at what's gone on since then. And then they thought, okay, if we move Miller, I mean, he's the older guy. We don't want to move the younger guy right now. We move him, it's going to clear everything up and we can move past this. And it's just been the complete opposite. It's gone the other way. I feel for Rick Tocchet right now. I mean, because you know him better than anyone, way better than me. But from what I know, man, this guy wears his heart on his sleeve. And to see a player act the way Pettersson's acting right now is just going to be like, enough. I can't take this.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens there for sure. And another thing too, Pierre, and I didn't ask Rick this, but just your take. I mean, with the rest of the NHL GMs seeing what we're seeing, it's all public right now. How low do you think Pettersson's value might be right now?
Well, if he doesn't start putting points up, it won't matter. Guys,
Right.
like that. He's not getting paid to check. He's getting paid to produce points. So, like Nick Dow's not getting paid to produce points. He's getting paid to check.
Exactly.
There's the difference. Pettersson's getting paid, $8 million a year to produce points. That's what it's what I tell young kids that I train all the time. You all want to make big money, but you better understand one thing. With big money comes major responsibility. And some guys can handle it, Jimmy. Some guys can't. I'll give you an example. We started this journey, the eye test, almost a year and a half ago, maybe more now, more than a year and a half ago. And there was no guarantee it was going to work. There was no written contract saying you guys are going to hit it out of the park. We've had to work and trust one another to build it up.
Yep.
And I think something's happened in Vancouver, a lot like New York Rangers, by the way.
Yes.
Where there's been a trust factor that's broken. And I don't know where it's been broken. Like there's a chain of command and all this stuff. Some link in the chain got weak.
Yep.
Where it is, I don't know, because I'm not there every day and I don't watch him practice. And as I said to Rick Dhaliwal, I am not going to bug Rick Tocchet when he's involved with Team Canada, when he's dealing with all this soap opera stuff that he has to deal with. I'm not going to do that. I don't think it's appropriate.
You know what was interesting too, Pierre? You bring up him being involved with the Four Nations on the Hockey Canada staff there too. I noticed when I was at some of those practices or game day skates in Montreal, he was smiling a lot more. He was out there enjoying himself. And I know that's obviously he's got all the best players in Canada on his team there, and that helps. But he just looked like a weight had been lifted off his shoulder. And then the way he was talking to the media, same thing. He seemed more like what I've seen covering him in the past and what you probably know of him as a person. And, like we said, if he can't find that there, you wonder how much longer he wants to put up with it. So it's something to watch. And also I love what Rick said about the center position.
Yeah.
What Dhaliwal said there. I mean, as we stress all the time on the eye test here, you're not winning a cup if you're weak down the middle. That's just the bottom line.
No,
I don't care how good the wingers are. So anyhow, all right, let us talk about our sponsors right now, and then we'll get to that Q&A. TCS Customs and Logistics. Unlock the full potential of your shipping operation with TCS Customs and Logistics, from around the corner to around the world. Flatbeds to air freight, customs clearance to drawback consulting. TCS is a one-stop shop for all things transport, moving pieces and delivering a peace of mind. For no obligation customs or freight quote, contact sickpodcast at shiptcs.com. Again, that is sickpodcast at shiptcs.com. And of course, Betway, where I went 3 for 3 last night in my picks. You can go over to Betway right now and you can still lose. And if you're a new customer, you're going to get a free bet up to $200 if your first bet loses. So if you're watching right now, scan that QR code right there in front of you on the screen, or go to the details section on the website to create a new account and redeem your welcome offer. Again, the offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offer not available in Ontario. You must be 18 plus, and please play responsibly. As I mentioned, I had a good night last night, and Pierre, one of the reasons was the Los Angeles Kings. Now, I know everybody on the East Coast is probably staying up for those Pacific games. I was starting to drift off, I won't lie, and the Kings were down 2-1 headed to the third period. They end up winning 5-2 in that game. I mean, they just exploded in the third period. I was saying to you the other day, too, we want to get a Kings guest on because I don't think they're getting enough attention. This team could make some noise, and they're moving up there right now in the standings. So we'll look at that and getting the guests from them. So thanks to them for helping me out with my Betway picks. But let's go to my sick picks of the night on a much busier night here in the NHL on a Tuesday night.
It's time for Sick Picks. Brought to you by Betway.
All right, I'm loving puck lines tonight, and for anyone that doesn't know what puck line means, the team has to win by 2. It's a -1.5, but you get way more value. And I'm looking at what they call a reverse puck line out there. For those that don't know that, that's when an underdog, you can take the underdog to win by -1.5, and you get insane value. And if you do that right now with the Edmonton Oilers, who I think had to have some really good hard practices once they got to Florida. They're not off to a good start out of the gate from the break. I think they're due. They're going to want to get a win before they go into Florida down to Fort Lauderdale, or Sunrise rather, for the rematch of the Stanley Cup Final on Thursday. They are in Tampa Bay tonight. Give me the Edmonton Oilers -1.5 at +230 value. And then I'm also looking to Columbus, where they are there. Like the Columbus Blue Jackets, I think, are a great story. They continue to be. They're going to host an outdoor game this weekend at Ohio State in the Big House. That's Michigan, in Ohio State Stadium. They are underdogs to the Dallas Stars, as you might imagine. Dallas is a great team. They have won 2 straight out of the gate, but I like the Columbus Blue Jackets to pull off the upset. Give me them at +164. So those are my 2 picks of the night. All right, let's go to our Q&A.
Stop for a second. Don't pretend to be a football analyst. It's called the horseshoe at Ohio State.
The horseshoe. That's why I corrected myself, Pierre. I don't like Ohio State, so I don't care what they're called. Sorry, they beat my Notre Dame.
Move along.
Rematch next year. All right, let's go. What do we got? Bill Van Vagel. I found it interesting that Bettman would say that he would like 8 teams in the next World Cup. Are there enough players from 8 countries to have full rosters, or maybe a best of the rest team? It's a good question, Bill. I think there is now, Pierre, wouldn't you? If you had Russia and Czech, would be 6.
Germany and Slovakia.
Yep. There you go. You got enough there. You can do it. All right. Next question. Ron LaRoque. Are you gentlemen still going to do a needs show before the deadline? It's a good question. I think we should, Pierre.
We will.
Sometime. All right. We'll talk about that off air, and we'll make an announcement and when we're going to do that. Of course, the trade deadline is March 7th. We will be on the air that day, later in the day to recap. We'll figure out what our trade deadline plans are this weekend coming up. All right. Next question. Bill Van Vagel again. Can you see the Blues trading Binnington, capitalizing on his strong play, or has he cemented his place there for the foreseeable future? Yeah, Binnington's name's coming up a lot because, as Bill points out there, Pierre, what he did for Hockey Canada at the Four Nations, but I don't see it happening. I get the buzz around him, but I don't see it happening right now.
Depends on what the value is that the team's prepared to pay, and what they think of Joel Hofer internally. Hofer's a good player, but it depends on what they view their internal depth as. But if they think they can hit a home run on Braden Shen, if they think they can hit a home run on Jordan Binnington, if they think they can maybe hit a home run on Jordan Kyrou, they got to think about everything there. They have to.
Bring up Braden Shen there, Pierre. I don't know if you heard. Elliot Friedman was reporting the other day that 2 teams have inquired about somehow uniting them. Did you hear that?
Uniting who?
The Shen brothers, uniting the Shen brothers and bringing them together on the same team for a playoff run. When I heard that, the first team that came to my mind, Pierre, I don't know how much truth is to it, but if it was to ever happen, where I think they'd both be a great fit is the Toronto Maple Leafs.
That'd be one, but Luke's already been there. The other one would be New Jersey.
Yep, good call. All right, next question. Bill Van Vagel again. Does Matthew Tkachuk injury give teams any second thoughts about lending their players, or is this a John Tavares or Joe Nieuwendyk situation where stuff happens and teams deal with it? No, I think teams are definitely thinking about this right now.
Hold on, wait a second, Billy. With all due respect, Bill, Charlie McAvoy's not, a little peon in terms of the depth of the Boston Bruins. Brady Tkachuk's a really important player for the Ottawa Senators. Those guys haven't played yet since they come back from this tournament. That was a big loss for Ottawa the other day. That's 4 losses in a row for Ottawa, and they're supposed to be a playoff team this year, and you can't be losing 4 straight games at this time of the year. So I'm just telling you, it's more than just that one player.
Yep.
And I'm very comfortable saying this. I know for sure there are a lot of owners that are really ticked off that they have injured players.
Yep. I'm glad you brought up Brady there. There was news today. He said he doesn't think he'll be ready for their next game tomorrow. So that would be 2 games now that he's missed out of the break.
And don't forget, they don't have Norris and they don't have Pinto. Look, I thought the event was great. I salute the NHL. They did an unbelievable job. Everybody involved. And stop saying this was an international tournament. It was not an international tournament. This was an NHL event.
Yep.
All NHL players on NHL ice with NHL rules, with NHL officials. This was not an international event. If it was, all those players that fought on Saturday night, USA, Canada, they wouldn't have played the next game.
Exactly.
So let's just get real here. This was an NHL event. Please call it what it is. I listened to a show today, and I'm going, please stop. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. With you on that. And I'm glad, but I agree with you, Pierre, that it's not just limited to Matthew Tkachuk. There's a lot of teams out there that aren't happy right now. All right, next question. Postnet on 130. What's Vancouver media like compared to Montreal?
Very similar without the bilingual part. Very, very similar. Vancouver used to be a goalie graveyard because the media never stopped.
Oh, yeah. That's
one part of it. But ask Kirk McLean, ask all those guys. Like it's tough out there.
Yeah.
No, I'm a big fan of the market. I've been there so much. It's cuckoo. Between World Juniors, between Canuck games, between Olympics, lots of different events, training camps for Team Canada. So I've been there a lot, and it's an amazing market. It is. It's an amazing hockey market. It truly is.
I got to be there a lot, obviously, in 2011 with the Bruins Canucks final, and I fell in love with it. Great city. It's so beautiful out there, too.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Bill Van Vagel again. Bill, you're ripping up the questions here. I love it, though. Will there ever be players like Tim Kerr or Rick Vaive where they have PP specialists whose job it is to get in front of the net, take cross checks, and score on the rebounds and deflections? I think coaches would love players like that. There's not as many, you're right, Bill, but those like role players like that, I think coaches would love to have those guys. Pierre?
Patrick Hornquist did it really well for the city that I'm in right now, Pittsburgh. He was the last player picked in his draft year. Ryan Smith did it unbelievably well for the Edmonton Oilers and the New York Islanders. Johan Franzen did it off the charts for the Detroit Red Wings. And Thomas Holmstrom was as good as there was. So we've had a lot of players in the modern era. And by the way, Bill, your questions are so appropriate. I coached Timmy Kerr in his last NHL game in Hartford. Timmy Kerr is one of the great gentlemen of all time. Just a phenomenal human being.
Where is he now, Pierre?
Jersey Shore.
Okay. He's just out of the game, though?
Yeah.
Okay, next question. Ron LaRoque. So is Vancouver getting close to the Cup? Do they have to revamp, go a different direction? I'd say the middle question, revamp. I think they're going to try and revamp. That's what I would think. What do you think?
I would agree with Jimmy. I don't think they're a Cup favorite, but I don't think they're that far away.
No. I think they just hit a big speed bump this year. All right, next question. Sound the siren. Pierre, do those coaching juices start flowing at the Lemieux fantasy camp?
They do. It's intense. I'll tell you what. It's intense. So today I was coaching against Ty Domi and Craig Patrick. My fellow associate coach, Brian Trotche, couldn't be here. He's out doing some hockey business in a different part of North America. So I couldn't be with Brian. I was coaching today by myself. And those two guys on the other bench, it was a good battle. It was good.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to tonight. I'm coaching against one of my old players, Kevin Stevens, tonight. So I'm looking.
What's the style of your team, Pierre? Could you define it or no?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in puck possession. I'm a big believer in closing down to the house. I'm a big believer in making sure we don't give up odd man rushes. I'm a big believer in an aggressive forecheck without giving up odd man rushes. So believe it or not, these guys are a captive audience. They're a ton of fun to work with.
That's
great. They really are. And like, Mario said, run it like it's an NHL. These guys want to experience that.
Yeah. And
so that's kind of what we do. And it's not just me, all the guys. This is such an honor to be here. Yeah. It's such a real honor to be here. You never take it for granted. You just don't. It's awesome.
Are there any guys like the players that have paid to be there that were former players at the collegiate or junior?
Yeah, there's
not
one.
To name them or anything, but
no, I won't. There's one player in particular. I could tell you right now. I know he's almost 30 years old. He could play in the American Hockey League. Yeah, wow. He's a really good player. Wow. I'm just telling you. He's big. He's got NHL speed, and he can shoot the puck at an NHL level. But he doesn't process the game like an NHL player. But yeah, he's a good player. I'm going to say there's 70 people, I think, or 80 people in camp, give or take. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say half of them are really good players. Like, you got a lot of guys that are good players.
That's awesome. All right, next question. Sound the siren. St. Louis seems to be in some form of transition. They have some nice pieces, but how do you figure out their next level?
Yeah, and part of that too, by the way, down in Raleigh is they don't have a lot of internal depth because in order for them to have stayed relevant to compete for the cups and the playoffs, they traded away a lot of picks.
Yeah,
traded away a lot of young guys. Barbashev's a good example of that. Sundqvist was a good example of that. So,
how much, Pierre? This came to my head just now, but how much do you think those offer sheet signings they made last year were in anticipation of what Sound the Siren just said? In terms of, we know the transition's coming, we got to get younger. We want guys that can at least come in right away and contribute.
Yeah, I think it's such a good point by you, Jimmy. Really good point. Both those guys, Holloway. I was talking to one of the coaches here. I won't give you his name. He said, I watched Dylan Holloway play a ton at Ohio State. Like, he's really good. I said, no kidding. He is good. Actually, at Wisconsin, my apologies, at Wisconsin. And then the other one is Broberg was vastly underrated. Mm-hmm. Like, what Armstrong did, though, he got Edmonton when they didn't have a manager in place. Stan Bowman wasn't there yet.
Yep.
So it worked out in their favor, yeah.
All right, next question. Randy Workman, question: will the Wings have $14 million in cap? What should their priority be?
D. No, D. I think I think their D needs to be better. Their depth guys. They lose Kopp. Jimmy's right about the centerman, but you're not going to be able to get I don't think, an elite guy, because then you got to move too many guys around. But I would say they need more D.
Would you think Jake Evans would be a fit there? Maybe?
He'd be an excellent fit there.
That's what I thought. Yep. All right, next
You're
question.
You're going to have to pay to get him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You're going to have to pay.
All right, next question. Ethan Russell. What's up, Ethan?
Yeah.
Big loss for Detroit and Kopp.
Yeah.
Yep. Who do you think they need to bring in? I just said it, Ethan. I think they need 2 depth forwards and 1 to 2 defensemen. Petrie should be back for the playoffs. Also, Raymond's 8x8 is a steal.
But Raymond's elite. I mean, so that's a total credit. Everybody talks about, the GM. Eiserman's really good at his job. Yep. That's a Chris Draper in the scouting staff. Hawken Anderson, that's a Chris Draper in the scouting staff acquisition on Lucas Raymond, and he's really good. He's really good.
Casper's been turning up as well for them. All right, next question. Randy Workman, can you see the Ottawa Senators going after a big name?
Yes. I thought they'd go big game hunting last summer. They chose not to.
Mm-hmm.
I think, Swayman, I guess you could say. Not Swayman, sorry, Linus Ullmark.
Yeah.
Ullmark was big game, I guess, but I thought they'd go bigger. Not in goal, but at another position.
I think in D would be interesting. All right, next question.
Right. If they're doing anything, it better be a right D.
Yep. Question, how much does Bennett get in the off season?
I don't know.
I don't either. Look, I think he's a very valuable asset. I think teams are going to line up for him, Pierre. But as Rick just said, quoting our wonderful friend Brian Burke, sometimes GMs get a little drunk and stupid at the free agency market. I think he's going to get overpaid. I really do. I think, and that's not a knock on the player. That's just a knock on the market.
I'll tell you one thing. You have that guy in your lineup, you got a chance to win a lot of playoff games. That's all I'm going to say. So how much do you value a playoff win?
Well, there you go. Yeah. All right. Next question. Hong Tron, is it better for Montreal to get a good pick this year or on a good run and miss the playoffs by 1 point?
Get a good pick this year.
Yep.
And win a lot in Laval. Get your guys playing a ton in Laval. I would even add a veteran American Hockey League player, if I could, to their team.
Yeah.
Get on a really good run in Laval.
Yeah. Gordon agreed with you when you said that when we had him on. All right, next question. Magnus, the Sheltie, do you think Boston should try to sell what they can? I think that's what they're going to do, Magnus. I think the big question right now is what happens with Brad Marchand. We'll see. So,
no, I got a question for you then, because I heard what you said, and you said it very quickly and nonchalantly. How prepared are Boston fans to go through 5 to 7 years of pain?
As we currently speak, not that prepared. They don't want it.
That's why I would be very careful being nonchalant about that as a management team.
Yeah.
I used to live in that market, and as you know, I'm there a lot.
Yep.
I just don't know how prepared they are to go from where they've been over the last decade and almost a half to where they could be going, Jimmy.
I completely agree with you, Pierre. But here's the question I'm asking them, right? And I think it's more management asking ownership is, are you prepared for us to be mid-level, to be just in the middle for the next 3 to 4 years? Or do you want us to stick for a few years and then start to go forward?
But there's no guarantee you're going to do that, because I think most of us know that study the draft, unless you're picking in the top 7 to 10 picks the next 2 years, there's not a lot of depth there.
Yeah.
Just telling you what the facts are. So I'd be concerned about just being haphazard about it. Yeah. Just telling you, I'd be very concerned about that.
Maybe they just move some guys out now, Pierre, if I'm reading you right, and then reevaluate in the offseason, or is that down the stretch?
That's exactly what I would think about doing. So I love what you just said there. I think that's really appropriate. So my question would be, and I don't like to say names, but okay, who's your besides McAvoy and Lindholm? We know that, and Pasternak. Those are valuable components. If you're a Bruins management person, like who's one guy you say, okay, I can get massive value for that player if I trade him? I'll tell you who I think it is when you answer.
Okay, massive value, I don't know, but solid value and more value than I think he would have had last offseason. I think Morgan Geekie right now could help a team that needs middle six depth right now.
So what does he bring you back? Let me ask you, what does he bring you back?
A third and a prospect, maybe?
Well, okay, so I'm going to tell you right now, that's not addressing your need to make the team better. Okay, so now do you see how the exercise gets played? Yeah. Okay, so here's who I think is valuable, Braden Coburn.
Okay. All right. But the Bruins, though, you think, okay, I got you. I read you. What about, let me ask you this, Pierre. Does Trent Frederick still have enough value? Because that's a name.
The problem, here's the problem with Trent. It's not a problem either, because I'm a big fan of the player, and I love the kid. I do. I think the kid's really cool. Without a contract, it's a heart. What's he worth?
Yeah, because you don't know if he's going to. You'd have to know that he's going to sign with you. Then is what you're saying.
Yeah. So this is hard. Like that's why I said
that's a tough position. Yeah, you're right.
When you do the exercise, because I do it for all these teams. Like, okay, they need to sell. Okay, they need to buy. Okay, you know what? They may be better to stand pat. It depends on what your internal evaluation is, Jimmy, on Boston. If you're like Donnie Sweeney and you're Cam Neely, what do you really think realistically you can do to make your team better. And I don't know if they can do it at the trade deadline this year. I just don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, how many teams, when you think about it, if we don't have the time right now, but I bet if we look back, right, Pierre, at deadlines, how many teams were really able to reshape themselves and change their direction at a deadline? You know, like they're really
I work in this era. It's hard to say. I worked for a guy that did it twice, made our team pretty good
before the cap, right?
Yeah, it's before the cap. That's what I'm saying. It's a different proposition.
Yep. And the other thing to be careful of, Pierre, and I know we've said it here, but I'm going to say it again, is don't get too locked in to what these cap projections are yet. Do not let that fool you.
So I know you did a home run job with Marty Walsh yesterday. Really good. It was really good. You should be really excited about that. That was really a good job. I'm with you. We talked about this.
And some team will. I guarantee it. Some team's going to just be like, oh, look, we can get this guy and fit him in for all. Like the Rantanen situation. This is.
What happens if they can't sign him?
Right? You only got a week to figure it out.
They're going to have to move him.
They have to. But then, okay, let's move on to the team that's acquiring him. What happens if they can't sign him?
Well, the one thing I'd say is there would probably be a deal in place.
Okay.
At that point.
Yep. We'll see. I heard what you said to Melnick about the conversation you and some of the guys were having and how some people thought maybe Toronto would be a good fit. I agree with you on that.
I mean, I hate speculating on these guys, but this is where the market is now. This is where we are right now.
You're already out there. You didn't put them out there, Pierre. It's not.
No, that's all I'm saying. But I'm just look. You got to find fits for different players.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. Next question. Postnet on 130. What is the fix for Vancouver to make the playoffs and play meaningful games? They are currently in a second wildcard spot. Who do they have to worry about behind them? I still think, I mean, I don't know how much of a, but Calgary's still there. Mathematically, they're still there. They got a game in.
Yeah.
You know, if they go in and they catch Washington sleeping tonight, which I think, by the way, I was actually thinking of making that one of my picks where at least they force an overtime. Washington's come storming out of the gate. They're probably looking at Calgary right now saying, oh, that's a win. You never know. So Calgary's still in the mix there. So who knows? But
hey, Jimmy, I just thought of something.
Yeah.
I said Braden Coburn. I didn't mean Braden Coburn.
I didn't want to be rude, Pierre.
No, you weren't being rude. Like I'm thinking as you're
me.
talking, I'm going, Braden Coburn retired, and I know him. He was a first-round pick of Atlanta, and I'm like, okay, that's not who I meant.
Yeah, it's okay. You've got a lot going on there.
No, I do, and I was just, it just came up, and I'm like,
Shen.
No.
Did you mean Shen?
No.
Oh, okay.
Who's the best right defenseman the Bruins have after Charlie McAvoy?
Oh, Brandon Carlo.
Thank you.
Yep.
So it was BC, but it was
okay.
I was like, oh, darn.
And you know what? Good value you could get on him.
So for those out there, I misspoke. I misspoke, and I apologize. But yes, Brandon Carlo, not Braden Coburn. Brandon Carlo.
And I'm with you though, Pierre. That's a great call. That's a good under the radar type pickup you can make there. I think.
That I don't really want to see him traded, but I know that he would have value.
Yep. Yeah, I'm with you on that. All right, next question. Brad K. Pierre, we just lost long-time MSG. Yeah. Any good stories while he was covering the Rangers?
He was just a good interviewer. He was a guy that was always nice to have around your room. I did spend some time with him, believe it or not in a hockey environment at the Brazil Olympics and at the London Olympics. Around hospitality, tents and things like that. I thought he was always a really personable, fun guy to be with. And I enjoyed talking hockey with him, but I didn't really socialize with him much, but London and Barcelona, or not Barcelona, Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, I talked to him.
Nice. Yeah. I only met him once, so I can't really comment, but he's everything I hear. He was a wonderful guy. Quickly too, Pierre, I just noticed on X, somebody is listening to us, and they're talking about the Bruins and Trent Fredericks, and they ask, why am I not hearing the St. Louis Blues mentions as a potential trade?
Well, he's from there. there.
Pierre and I have been saying that forever. And plus the relationship with Montgomery, it makes a ton of sense, but it depends what St. Louis.
No, but we've talked about this before. Yeah. We just don't like to speculate. Like, oh, yeah, he's going to go to St. Louis because Jimmy Montgomery. I can't say that. I don't know that. I could say the same thing. You say the same thing. Boy, Matthew and Brady Tkachuk are from St. Louis. Clayton Keller's from St. Louis. Like let's get all those. Let's bring the band back together and put them all in St. Louis.
St. Louis youth hockey team. There we go. All right. Next question. Ethan Russell, what regional will you guys be at for the D1 playoffs? I really hope you say Manchester, New Hampshire. Well, considering I'm about 40 minutes from there, there's a pretty good shot of that, Ethan.
I don't know because I got so much stuff going on. I may be roadkill somewhere else and talking to Jimmy while he's there or wherever. Well,
it depends.
We'll get it all worked out.
Player lines up, right, Pierre?
We'll see where everybody goes.
All right, next question. Alex Evanowski, what do you make
Michael Misa?
I don't know anything. Oh, Misa? Okay. I don't know anything about him. I'm moving up the draft board. Scouts and draft experts seem to think he's way better than originally believed. Pierre, I'll let you take this. I don't know much about him.
He's good. He's really good. But he's been climbing for a while.
All right. Next question. Ethan Russell, Pierre, you headed to Amherst this weekend for UMass Lowell versus
No, I'm going I'm going to be there Wednesday and Thursday. I'm doing the game Thursday night, and then I'll be at Storrs, Connecticut on Friday, and I'll be in Boston on Saturday, and I'll be in Quebec on Sunday. Then I'm back to Ithaca, New York the week after for the women's Final Four for DCAC at Lion Rink. But I will be at UMass Amherst Wednesday and Thursday. The game that I'll be calling with Nathan Strauss will be on Thursday night.
And who do they got Thursday, Pierre?
UMass Lowell.
Oh, it's both UMass Lowell. Okay, both games. Yep.
Yeah.
And by the way, UMass Lowell is not the real UMass. You have to put the Lowell after them. Amherst is the real one. All right, next question. Little pet peeve of mine. Charles, if Habs are sellers at the trade deadline, I think they will be, Charles. They will fall in the standings. If McQueen is available, do they risk selecting him? My concern is that he was due back in December and is still out, similar to Lindstrom situation last year.
What a great point by Charles.
Charles.
It's something that a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot, people that I speak to are starting to be concerned about that. Mm-hmm. But I don't know enough about it. Not right now. But that just definitely is something that is being discussed.
Every time I hear the last name McQueen, Pierre, you know who I think of?
Steve McQueen.
That's right. And I wasn't even old enough to watch, but my dad force-fed me his movies, and I grew up.
Well, the best one of the best roles he had was when he was the Cooler King. Riding his motorcycle over the fences.
All right, good question there. Next question. Posting it on 130, loaning out players under contract for international events. Think about what happened to Paul Kariya receiving a cross-check in the face during the 98 Nagano Winter Olympics from Gary Suter. Great point there. Posted on 130.
We totally agree. This is not the first time it's happened. Gary Suter got Gretz too.
Yep. And sadly, it won't be the last. All right, next question. Sound the siren. The logjam of quality kids at the AHL and the KHL is screaming for expansion. NHL, give me some answers.
There'll be expansion.
It's coming, sound the siren.
Don't worry, it's coming.
Yeah, it's coming. All right, next question. Magnus the Sheltie, the Habs are close, maybe only a good trade away from advancing to the playoffs. Do you think? If they go to the playoffs, so be it. I don't think they're thinking that way anymore. I think they were thinking that way when Jeff Gorton was on our show back in January, at the end of January, and they're on that run, Pierre. But I think that the mindset has shifted a bit, I would think.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, next question. Chris Blue Shirts. Hey, guys. Gabe Perreault and Drew Fortescue able to join the Rangers this year and make an impact. Thank you. Let's go Rangers.
I think Perreault makes an impact. Drew still needs some time. He's a very good defenseman. Played in the World Junior. He's big. He's rangy. He can skate. I still think his stick needs to get stronger, but that's normal for most young guys. But those are two very good prospects that the Rangers own that play at Boston College. Very, very good prospects.
All right. Boston College is so stacked. All right. Next question. Posting it on 130. Slav on Saturday versus Senators in Ottawa. Can he play mad all the time with that personality? Great kid. Had a great game, but can it be consistent? Let's hope so.
That's what has to happen. That's the key for everybody. Don't be an A player one night and a D player the next. Be a solid B+ every night.
Yep.
That's a Bowmanism. Don't be an A one night and a D the next.
Yep. But, Pierre, I don't like people saying, oh, well, he can be Brady Tkachuk. No, let him be him. That's my point. Like Brady Tkachuk,
he'll never fight like Brady Tkachuk.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen. But appreciate what he can be and likely will be.
Yes.
All right, next question. John Flagel, how come we don't see more sitting coaches head over to the PWHL? That's a good question. I never thought of that, Pierre.
You'd have to ask the PWHL.
Yeah, that is an interesting thing. I wonder if we do, if that becomes a trend soon. We'll see. All right, what do we got here? That's all. Good question, though, John, at the end there. I liked it. And, yeah, we are done. Jimmy, Pierre, thanks for answering my questions. Charles, no problem. Good stuff, Pierre. You got the championship game in about...
Yeah, I'm going over right now in about 45 minutes.
Good luck. I hope you guys bring it home. They got a good trophy or what?
They do. It's beautiful. Anything Mario touches is good. Nothing bad here.
I bet.
It's all good. But, yeah, no, it's good. I'm just across the street from the rink right now, so I'm going to head over there and get my guys ready. And I look forward to talking to you tomorrow. I'll be talking to you from the hallowed grounds of your alma mater.
I can't wait. And we will have a wonderful guest. We were mentioning Edmonton Oilers earlier. They're in my pick of the night here for Betway. We will discuss the Edmonton Oilers with our good friend Jack Michaels, the play-by-play man. Love having him on. Big thanks to Rick Dhaliwal for joining us. Thanks to Shane running the boards up in Montreal. And thanks to you in the Q&A section and all our listeners and viewers. He's Pierre McGuire. I'm Jimmy Murphy. This has been another edition of the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.